We're going to get into round two. We will ask each other questions based on what we've heard so far, based on what we said in our opening statement. So, now here's my question to you. If you said about how the radio stations that they exist, that they stay on board, this tax were to pass, they'd be forced to change, and maybe that could be a good thing that they could compete. I mean, that's kind of like that's easier said than done. What would happen if these stations? What would be alternative plans of these stations that do try to compete with the mainstream markets, with assuming the tax is in place, like stations such as this one, WWSU, or even some low market independent station? How could they? What are their alternatives to competing if your way doesn't work?
Well, I tell you what, if my way doesn't work, they're pretty much hosed. I guess they would have to go to the news radio. But I honestly don't see how it could not work. Um, if if we dig up, let's say, I'm completely for radio. Radio is a huge, powerful tool, and I'm totally for radio. But I'm for independent radio. I'm for you getting your voice out there. And for the next DJ that's going to come in here in 2 hours or whatever, him getting his voice out there and his opinion and his love for music.
Yep.
And what would happen there is it would make you more powerful. It wouldn't be you're tucking your tail between your legs and running off. I'm for the tax, but I'm not for stations paying that tax. And I truly feel that it would have to work. I mean, it worked, in 1940. It worked in 1930 before there were record labels, big conglomerates controlling everything. It worked then, and it would have to work now. I believe what that would do is that would constrict the market to where it was more of a local avenue. It would provide a sense of community, if you will, to the listeners.
Yep.
To the staff. Even the staff would feel a lot prouder about what they're putting out there, because there would be ties to this community and the town.
Yeah.
And the advertising is there. It is a powerful tool. Radio reaches people. That's the bottom line. I think it's to a point where it doesn't matter what's on it. It being a powerful tool will bring the advertisers. So I don't see a potential fail. There's really no way now that this station can compete with a big time mainstream commercial radio station, because of all the funds that pour through there.
Yes.
So why not shoot to the other side? Why not say, forget competing with you, we're going to do our own thing? I mean, it's what got radio kicked off initially.
Yeah.
DJs digging through boxes and boxes of records
way
at the
back
local
when.
record store. Yeah.
The world's changed though, but yeah, that's how radio got started to begin with. That spirit of, we can perform, we can do something special.
Yeah.
Okay, now what's your question to me? Fire away.
My question to you is
I'm Daniel/Tyler, by the way. We determined that when we were at the break. Daniel/Tyler, because he's not here.
I don't understand, I guess, why you see it as such a downside, when what it would do was it would basically put the power in your hands, and and if the radio stations chose to, they could actually flip it on the label and on the music industry,
Yeah.
so to say, because who plays their music, who promotes their artists?
We do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you and now if you choose to pay the tax, yes, they'll all, a lot of those stations like this will go bankrupt. And I tell you what, in high school, I kept my tuner locked to 106.9 because of the variety, because you were playing things that weren't coming on, 103.9 or whatever every hour. On the commercial station every hour. You're hearing the same 2-3 songs every 2 hours or so.
Okay.
And that was huge to me. I got hip to several artists that I would have never known otherwise about, and that grew my influences as an artist, expanded my mind and horizon. So my question to you is, how is that a bad thing?
Well, the way you describe it's not a bad thing, but it is a big risk. Like, we have fantasies all the time. Like, we can take down the giant, we can burn down the Roman Empire, but we gotta face reality, though.
Someone did.
Well, a long time ago, but this is it's 2010. We're trying to, and like I said, if radio stations, I've seen in the articles all the time that there's stations they're scrapping for money as it is now without the radio performance tax. And we live in a society where the rich are getting rich and the poor are getting poor. And you need money to survive. You need funds coming in. You need to have fundraisers. And if that's not coming in, and you wind up getting bankrupt, and people have families also. And I wish it was different. I wish I was a rich guy or people that were rich. They volunteered at radio stations and worried about getting paid. But it was a job. It was once well, it kind of still is in most places. And I mean, there's no result to that. Like, there's a big risk. Like, if the tax were to pass and we had to put 10% on each song we play, well, the major songs. Now, alternative songs, like you said, local artists, I do agree with that. Local artists, it's not, or even that it's unsigned. The quality of most local artists aren't that great, if you will. Some of them are good, and that's why it's a big risk. That's probably why they're local artists, because a lot of the people that do get signed eventually, they have shown a lot bit of talent. Most of them, anyway. They like bands. They performed in clubs for many years, and they had a big following, and eventually they got signed to a label. Like, think of all the big names in history. Like, you think of music, you think the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Aerosmith, U2, the Black Eyed Peas. Well, they're all associated to a label, and they get paid. They got a good, sweet deal, and that helps them with the marketing. And of course, that was back then. Now, to continue with that area, I know artists today that most of them do want to be independent to begin with. The more independent, the way that your vision would work is if major artists now, they too turn their backs on major record labels. Like, say there's like we have Beyonce and Rihanna, anyone big, Coldplay. Like, if they were to break their contract with the record labels and say we're going to be independent and radio stations, you don't have to charge for our music, that would help us a big lot. That would help us a lot, and then we could still be different. We wouldn't be tied at the same time. You wouldn't be tied down to corporate, because corporate would be in trouble. There are people they have signed under contract. It's all one big deal. I can envision other stations, they would do something different entirely to try to survive. You did hit on that point. Like, most stations do thrive on music. Some might focus on something completely different. Like, it might be 24/7 talk, or we might have on an all sports station, and there could be also comedy radio. Like, it could be all comedy bits. My question to you is, how can if a radio station, like, they need talent, they need advertisements to promote those. Do you have alternative solution to if they can't find advertisements for these new stations that would, like, that's non music stations? What's your advice to find advertisement for these new alternative stations?
Well, first off, I would suggest just music stations.
Okay.
News is just for the most part gossip, I've come to find, and who needs that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to go back to the community. You know, there needs to be a sense of community. It would be a hand-in-hand thing. I could go out and grab, 4 or 5 artists right now that would love to come in and perform right this second.
Yep.
And, they don't get the chance to because, everybody's pushing this Britney Spears junk like you were talking about, which is really not art. It's a cookie cutter of the last boy/girl band hit. And, that it's become the market. It's all about the money. What type of music is getting the bang for the buck from the advertisers, and it's choking the art out of it. If we would bring the art back to it, that would tie the radio station with the community where the art is coming from. There would be fundraisers where the radio station goes hand in hand with the artist. Really, I'm a songwriter myself, and I almost live to write songs and to be able to cut records. That's huge to me. So I would do it for next to nothing. I know another couple handful of acts that would come out and do it for free just to get their name out. And and that would spawn all kinds of other stuff coming out of the woodwork that would help with that, with fundraising, with commercial opportunities, just all kinds of things, benefits, and you name it. It could all happen. It's just a matter of really localizing a whole lot more. Everybody nowadays is thinking national and global, and but in that the community is lost and shattered. It's shattered with these delusions of grandeur that we all have. I'm guilty myself from time to time, because the idea of community is already shattered. But at one time, the city of Dayton was together, pulling for its radio stations, its papers, its local pharmacists, And I mean, really, we would have to go back to that, and I'd like to see that anyway, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But the advertisers would come. I don't know what strictly news radio.
Yeah, for the music stations that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because it worked before. I
Yeah.
have to go back to that because it truly did.
Mhm.
And that was huge for so many teenagers.
Yeah.
I mean, where would Foghat be?
Yeah.
Where would Love Hurts be? It wouldn't be Living in Infamy, I can tell you that.
Okay.
It would have never made the Days of Confused soundtrack.
Absolutely. Well, that's a good point. Now, your question to me. Oh, before you ask this next question, how many more questions do you have for me? Like one or two more?
Right now, I have none, but I'm going to think of one.
Oh, you're gonna think of
I'm
one?
going to think of one for you right now.
All right. So, well, this will be the last question, then we'll go to break. We'll play some more songs, but think of something. Do.
Okay, what good, other than money? I keep hearing all this talk about money.
Okay.
Other than that, what good can come from things staying as is without this tax? I feel personally that there needs to be a huge change. We see, I'm an art purveyor though. I love art. I love people taking something that
Yeah, so do I.
they've felt, that they've witnessed, and then turning it into something that was not.
Yes.
And right now, the industry is forced to push this cookie cutter stuff. And like I said, it just squeezes the life out of the art that was in it. And now it's just music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so other than money, what good comes from staying where it's at now?
Well, that is a good question. It does no good because I don't like the cookie cutter stuff that I had mentioned. The thing is, it's up to the rich people. These record executives, they are in charge. They have direct ties to the main station. Like we have one main station that I'm referring to. I don't think I should mention their name, perhaps because I'm attacking them pretty hard. But the thing is, they are forced. They have someone at some point made a deal with these giant record executives. Like I'm trying to think of big record companies right now. There's Sony. There's the Warner Brothers. They're still around. And who else is there?
That's RCA.
RCA.
There's so many of them tied together, it's almost hard to.
Well, there's like a guy in that little office, that little box, kind of like behind the Wizard of Oz. There's a guy behind the curtain. Well, unfortunately, that's how it is, and they don't care about the audience, because otherwise, when we hearing this crap, we wouldn't be hearing Keisha and Britney Spears 24/7 on the main big stream channels, or that's supposed to be the Hot 40. I hate to believe that there's music that's the best music that's out there. What's being played on the mainstream stations. There's so many good independent artists out there. But the way to stop that would be to confront the owner, like make the owner change his ways, write a letter, or challenge him or her, whoever it is. They'd have to change their mind because they have the money, and of course I'm not going to riot because then they'll get upset that I don't confront. You shouldn't riot, by the way. I'm not going to condone rioting. I want to get that out of the way. But you can write letters. We live in a country of freedom of speech, and we need to tell them, listen, you need to be fair. You need to make radio fun again, or quit listening to radio altogether. Like we do our stations, kind of like television and anything else in entertainment. We depend on the viewers. If there's no one watching radio or listening to radio, if you will, then that's going to kill advertisement altogether. And the audience, it is in their hands if they want it to be, but they are feeding to these big time corps, and it's their choice. They can write letters saying, we want you to play something different. We want you to change the format right now. Include this band, include this DJ, this radio personality, or have this debate. We want to hear that. We want to hear something different. Or they can quit listening altogether, and then everything would go down. Radio could ultimately die. Someone at home, they can use the radio to hear something they're not going to hear elsewhere.